The producer here is Morris Farms. They call the wine Avvoltore. It's a quote-unquote super Tuscan. Now, Marco, did you want to touch on that term?
Sure.
What super Tuscan is?
Basic Tuscans are Sangiovese-based varietals. Super Tuscan is a made-up category. They basically label it Super Tuscan because they actually added more Cabernet to it, more Merlot. They basically, in a sense, have made this almost like a Bordeaux-style wine. More along...
Untraditional Tuscan.
Right, in its own category, because the Italian government doesn't even recognize Super Tuscan. They just realize IGT, DOCG, which DOCG is actually the premier level, you know, in winemaking theory itself there, or classification.
All right, so let's taste this guy.
Now, what characteristic in a Tuscan or a Super Tuscan is everybody, you know, at our table here and our viewers actually looking for in this wine overall? More tannic, a little bit drier, a little bit more backbone and body to it.
I mean, generally, like if we're comparing...
More flavor as you walk away, because it actually starts to open.
Reds from the old world, or Italy or France, or reds from the new world, like California, their general difference is, right, they tend to be a bit drier on the palate. They're not as fruit forward, so to speak.
So this is more food wine. This is more food oriented. So what I could tell you is, as you're sipping on a beautiful wine like this, have more foods rich in like fat, like some of the super sod, more of the dry sausage, prosciutto, nice ribeye. These are the foods that you want to actually pair with some of these wines, because these are basically big boys from Tuscany. They should be. I mean, it's basically like a Bordeaux style, so you should have more of that earthier tone to it. But overall, it's going to be a little bit more tannic, a little bit more acidic. So that's perfect when it comes to a lot of these foods you want to pair it with.
Now again, you know, you said the word acidic, you know, and a lot of people are afraid of that word.
Right.
Acidity is extremely important in wine, and it's even more important when you're pairing food and wine. Here, I mean, again, I was talking about Cabernet kind of jumping out. Cabernet jumps out of the glass here. I get those classic aromas of like cassis and cedar. But you know, the Sangiovese gives you that little like leather undertone, that little bit of licorice. That's gonna, you know, tell you where the wine is from. It brings me to a place. Right. And that's also, you know, a telltale sign of a great wine. If you can smell it and it screams of its origins, you're drinking a great wine. I mean, that's what you want, really. I mean, you want a sense of place in the glass.
Right. So we just finished up with the Avvoltore Super Tuscan, which is a beautiful blend of Syrah, Sangiovese, and Cabernet. From Tuscany, we're flying off to Veneto, which is not that far away, but it's probably one of the best wine producing regions to me, because
it depends who you talk to.
Exactly, because I preferably love Amarone. Now, when most people talk about Amarone, there are three basic grape varietals that make up this wine. Chris, they're what?
Corvina, Rondinella, and Molinara.
Now, how is Amarone different from most of your other wines overall? Take us kind of through the motions of making an Amarone, because I'll tell you right now, folks, this is truly an artisanal wine made with love and care, because if it's not done properly, you basically have ruined the whole season. Chris, take us through.
So Amarone is produced just like most wines in the beginning, where you know you're harvesting ripe grapes, and then the actual thing that makes it unique to Amarone is that they're air dried. So the primary grape variety in Amarone is Corvina, or in actually this particular one, he uses a clone called Corvino. It's an ancient clone that's not used much anymore because it's very hard to grow and finicky, but it produces, you know, the really spectacular wines. And then all the grapes are laid out on straw mats, and then they're dried.
For how long?
It depends. You know, it could be a couple of months, but usually it's about 4 to 6 months.
I.e. raisins?
Correct.
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
That's the one fruit you pick up in Amarone is raisin right off the bat.
And Amarone actually, rough translation, correct me if I'm wrong, means bittersweet. So
Yes.
you're going to get those, and that's what you get. You get that kind of like bittersweet cocoa powder and raisins, and there's a lot of depth to these wines. Mm-hmm. So in raisinating and drying out the grapes, you're concentrating the sugars and the grape juice, and you're also introducing other things that affects the grapes, like botrytis, sometimes gets into Amarone and gives you honeyed notes. Botrytis is a fungus actually that's ambient in the air, and as the grapes dry, some of the fungus grows on them, and it's a good thing in most cases.
Right. And then when the Amarone actually doesn't turn into the wine, it's what we call dessert wine, recioto. Correct?
Correct. Yeah.
And if you haven't tried recioto, folks, seriously go out and buy yourself a bottle of recioto. If you love port, absolutely, from Marco's Vino. Recioto is just silky, sweet. I mean, if you love flavor, Recioto is the wine favored to me because it is just loaded with flavors. It just bounces. No. It's just like, it's almost like port, but it's Italian port.
It's just a wine made from Amarone.
From those grapes.
From
it's
the same grapes.
Absolutely delicious.
This producer, Tommaso Bussola, he is the benchmark. I mean, as far as Recioto, Recioto is beautiful.
Next, we are going to touch base on another favorite part of my world is the Loire region of France, which makes beautiful Sancerre. And today we have the Boulay. Chris, please take us on the Boulay.
All right, so Sancerre, again, a place in the Loire Valley. So Sancerre is located in the eastern portion of the Loire. Loire is in north-central France. And it's important to talk about both the varietal and the soils. Right. Sauvignon Blanc is the varietal and white Sancerre, always. So if it's Sancerre and it's white, it's always 100% Sauvignon Blanc. The soil is actually probably more important than the varietal. Kimmeridgian limestone, famous, very sought-after soil that the Sancerre grows on. The same type of soil is actually in Chablis as well, in northern Burgundy. So they're very close. It's actually the same swath of land. And Kimmeridgian actually refers to a time period, actually a very long time ago, since the age of the type of the limestone. But really, Sauvignon Blanc depicts that soil very well.
Right.
And so this is actually a benchmark producer, Gerard Boulay, from a single vineyard called Le Grand Côte, which is considered by most as the top, if not the best, single vineyard site for Sauvignon Blanc in Sancerre. It's located in the village of Chavignols, and again, Chavignols is considered the best soil, the best cru and village in Sancerre.
When you go through the reds and you've tasted just about everything there, you start with the whites at the end because that's actually going to clean your palate through. It'll actually enhance the flavor of the wine itself. Give this a swirl in your glass. This actually has legs. Yeah. And I don't know if we talked about legs in this program, but maybe that's something we could touch on in the next program. Well, the show is just about wrapping up right now. I want to thank Chris Gambelli of Polaner Distributors. I want to thank all my guests here that took part in this first show of Wine Talk. And basically, I want to raise glasses. Buona fortuna a tutti quanti. Ciao a tutti. Grazie per tutto cos. Thank you very much, folks. Salud. Folks, once again, my name is Marco Volpe of Marco's Vino. If you want to attend and be a guest on my next show, please call me at 914-526-9463. Our February shooting will be our March show, so please call me as soon as possible. We have 10 seats available. Grazie per tutto cos.